Oh, this is a doozy of a topic we have today. Whether or not to be celibate when healing sexual trauma. And he's Ike Mama G, co-creator with the divine of Fiercely Fulfilled Feminine, where I empower a woman through sacred sexuality. I'm not going to edit right there. I'm going to be real and vulnerable to become fiercely fulfilled. Here's the deal. First of all, you've got to define that for you what celibacy actually is. I will talk about that in a moment. I'd also like to talk about the power of self-pleasure when healing sexual trauma. Okay, yeah, we're going to get to that. And then finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about sex magic and how reclaiming your sacred sexuality actually improves the effectiveness of your sex magic, which includes a grieving ritual. Nobody talks about this, or maybe a few, but it needs to be talked about. Now, first of all, celibacy, only you can define what that is for you. You see, everyone is on their own unique journey, and there's no right or wrong. Now, the broader definition of celibacy is that you abstain from sex. So, does that mean sex with others? Does that include sex with yourself? Can you still masturbate? How long is it meant to last or not? That's up to you. Okay. Now, for me, celibacy means I'm not having sex with others. Now, there was a period of time when I wasn't even pleasuring myself. Now, there's a healthy aspect to that, and there's a less than healthy aspect to that. You see, repressing your sexual energy because you've experienced the pain of what you perceived as rejection or abandonment is different than choosing consciously for a short period of time to not engage in any sex at all, even with yourself, and to take yourself into sacred solitude so that you have the ability to begin to reconnect to your body in a more healthy way. However, with that being said, I do believe that self-pleasure is a powerful tool for transformation and is critically important in healing, especially sexual trauma. Now, let me just back up a little bit. I chose not to have sex with others consciously because of the emotional connection. You see, I felt it was important for me to learn to regulate my own emotions, to learn to be able to stabilize and recalibrate my own nervous system, to learn to become more present with myself, to rediscover the wholeness and completeness that was already me. And I did that through sacred sexuality. Okay. So that's what celibacy looked like for me. However, what I noticed over time, and I'm going to back up a little bit, I noticed that I carried a lot of shame around sex. I received a lot of messages where I was actually shaming myself, not only for the sexual trauma, but for the echoes of that sexual trauma. And so this is how some of the echoes may show up for you in the way that they also showed up for me. And then I'm going to talk about what you can do to begin to just remove that shame for good and to begin to be able to reconnect with yourself so that you can better reconnect with others and actually with all of life. So first of all, it might have shown up as number one, and this is a biggie right here. And a lot of women feel shame around this, is you actually enjoyed the physical sensations during the actual sexual trauma, even though so many boundaries were violated and it included bodily harm. That's a biggie right there, okay? I'm going to use my notes to try to stay focused here. Number two, sexual promiscuity, okay? It is a typical response to sexual trauma that one becomes sexually promiscuous. Sex with many partners, whatever that sex may look like, excessive masturbation, hypersexuality, overexpression, and an unhealthy way of sexual energy, which is actually, wasting and depleting you of your life force because your sexual energy is the creative life force of the universe, and that is what gives you vitality. And so sexual promiscuity obviously has a stigma attached to it when it's done out of a need for external validation or as an echo of trauma because you've been activated. If it happened when you were a young child, like I was, you've been stimulated at an age where you really didn't really know what was going on and didn't really understand the power of sexual energy. So there's a lot of distortion around that. So you then become stigmatized, called a slut, maybe a whore, maybe a hoe. Hoe and a whore, by the way, the original meanings of those words are divine. They are divine because there actually is a purpose to a hoe and a whore, high priestess, and the ability to use her sacred sexual energy to help heal others, especially men, through sacred intimacy as a tool for transformation. But that's a video for another day. Okay, number 3 might have shown up where you had given in to sex when you really didn't want to, or when you really weren't ready, or because you thought you were going to get something out of it without having that intention, of course, and you were left disappointed from the expectations that didn't come about. Okay, so giving in when you really weren't ready, when you really didn't want to, or even when you had a different expectation as far as the outcome of that sexual experience. Number 4, perhaps at some point you became fearful around sex, you numbed out in certain ways, or you became disassociated from certain aspects of the sexual experience. And finally, number 5, and this is a biggie, and you may or may not have yet experienced this, or maybe, hopefully you won't, okay? It's when you completely repress your sexual desire because you've learned to experience sex, intimacy, love, connection with pain. And you'd rather avoid that pain. So it's easier to just repress it altogether. Except that's not healthy. You see, because as I've said again and again, your sexual energy is your life force. It's what gives you vitality. And if you repress it over time, you become increasingly more and more depleted, and this can lead to depression. And that's exactly what happened to me. And I didn't even realize what was going on. I wasn't consciously aware of it until I sought help. And then what I realized is, okay, it's important for me to reawaken my sexual energy, my sex center, and more importantly, for me to begin to reprogram the pain that I had associated with my body around sex, and to remove the shame around it, including the shame around the echoes of sexual trauma. And so for me, what this looked like initially was me beginning to explore every major erogenous zone in my body in a ritualistic way, so that what I was doing was replacing the energy of trauma with true uninhibited pleasure. And it was me, myself, and I. Why me, myself, and I? Because it's about building the safety of sex muscle. You see, if you've been sexually traumatized, there's probably some part of you that does not necessarily feel safe in more intimate connections. You're not as vulnerable as you'd like to be. And so it's challenging to go in deeper in a more intimate way and to be able to fully express your natural essence, untamed, wildly erotic. And so the reprogramming is really, really important. And in order to feel safe, you've got to feel safe with yourself first. So exploring all those zones that might have caused you pain. Now, if this is you, it's okay. You enjoy the pain of pleasure, the pleasure of pain. That's okay. That's an echo of trauma as well. And I could talk about the neurology behind it. It's been well documented, and especially in those who, veterans. Okay, this was a book related to the Vietnam War, but any veteran who's experienced trauma, and not necessarily sexual trauma, as far as how that can show up in their life. And sexual trauma can involve an echo as, okay, the pain of pleasure or the pleasure of pain. Okay, and sometimes it's that avoidance altogether. None of that is necessarily a healthy expression. However, again, do not shame yourself for any way that it has shown up. It's part of your journey. It's part of your healing journey. You see, the contrast is what brings us into a greater conscious awareness of what needs to change. So, where was I? So for me, I'm just going to share an example. I'm being super vulnerable here. Sodomy, okay? If you've been sodomized, sodomy is different than anal intercourse. To me, sodomy means, okay, somebody came in against your will, without consent, caused you bodily harm and pain and hurt, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, on all levels. And so what happens is you start to associate anal intercourse. By the way, that's a major erogenous zone in the body, an opportunity for pleasure. It's also the root chakra and the portal. It's a major portal for abundance, sense of security, and a sense of safety. And what happens is if you've been violated, sexually violated through that portal, you may be repulsed by anal intercourse. And that's part of your body. And if you are anal retentive in any way, okay, this was me for a very long time as a child and a young adult. Okay, obviously, I was on a healing journey for a long time, but I would have said I was definitely anal retentive to the point where I had trouble using the bathroom. I have perfect digestion right now. I'm 60 years old and I have perfect digestion. That's what healing does. It's taking the trauma, healing it, and digesting it. Just like you digest a meal. Okay, because you've got to empty out the vessel, create more space to put more food and more pleasure into the body. Anyways, you see I'm on a free flow here. You see, let's just focus on that portal for a minute. Your anus is connected to the root chakra. Root chakra is about safety, security, abundance, support, all your physical needs being met. Beautiful portal. And so if you can experience and access pleasure in that portal in a healthy way where you're present and you recognize the power of that pure portal, ooh, I'm just saying. So like I said, part of the healing includes tapping into not just every major erogenous zone in the body, but to all the sensual pleasures that you can experience in a full-bodied way. And so it's you being present with yourself, being soft, gentle, slowing down, really feeling the most blissful sensorial experience that you possibly can as a way to demonstrate devotion, love, and adoration, as a way to prepare you for the ability to give and receive with your ideal legendary lover. You see, the process of connection, the process of safety, the process of love begins with you. Reconnecting to you and your whole body. Remember, I've said this before, men teach through the intellect, the mind. Lecture, woman, we're different. We teach with presence. We don't even have to say a word. We just show up in our energetic frequency, a sensuality, a sacred sexuality. And we help to heal. Okay, so sex, self-pleasure is a powerful way to heal and to transmute sexual trauma. And so what I do and why I'm showing up and why I've shown up and been guided to do what I do is to help you to reconnect to your own body, to help you to heal through somatic techniques by witnessing you and by helping you to tap into the free flow of your sexual energy once again, so that you can begin to feel a deeper connection in a deeper love and a deeper sense of safety and vulnerability with you first. because it connects to all of life. It's not just about a romantic partner. It's about connection to all of life. It's about slowing down and communing with the divine. It's about opening up and receiving to abundance, to opportunities, to resources, to divinely aligned people to support you, your happiness, your mission, and the full expression of your sacred sexuality. It's eroticism in a healthy way. You see, I'm here because I've had to break it down for myself. I've had to heal and deprogram in the most painful way all the stigma and all the programming around a woman's true, natural, central, sacred nature. The fullest expression of her natural sexuality in a healthy, balanced way. You see, it comes from the inside out. It's not about external validation. It's not about performance. It's not about people pleasing. It's not about sacrificing. It's not about, okay, let me see how pretty I can look today. Am I prettier than that person and this person? Because if I have the perfect shape, if I have the perfect hands, if I have the perfect hair, whatever, the perfect eyebrows, I plug mine the heck out. I'm lucky I even have some left. Echo with trauma. I think I got microblading in the future for me. Anyways, that's a little aside. You see, when it comes from the inside out, you don't care. You're going to dance like your life depended on it, and you don't care who's watching or who's not watching. You're going to dance for the sheer joy of it. You're going to move your body for the sheer joy of it. You're going to learn how to just self-pleasure in a way where you honor and revere you and your vessel as it was designed. Yes. I got a little bit going there, so let me just see where I am. Yes, it is a self-love journey. If you want to attract the perfect person, okay, self-pleasure. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about, I forgot, I didn't mention masturbation versus self-pleasure. So I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm just going to touch upon a little bit of sex magic and grieving rituals. I know you don't want to grieve, but guess what? It's part of the journey. So masturbation, first of all, I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. No right or wrong. It's all part of an unfolding evolution, many different paths to rediscovering our divinity and our worthiness and our perfectly imperfect beauty. Okay. So masturbation for me typically is just, okay, let me get in there, wherever that in there might be, and let me just get it done. Let me get that dopamine hit. Let me feel good. Let me release those feel good hormones, those endorphins typically. And that's okay. You know, for example, sometimes when one is engaging in sex magic with the divine present, of course, that's the way I do it. Maybe you don't have the time that you'd like to devote to a little bit of a slower, longer practice, okay? And that's good to go, okay? That does have its purpose, and it can serve you very well. So to me, sometimes that's where I'm at. Most often, I prefer, even if it's not every day and not as often, self-pleasure. You see, because self-pleasure to me is where I'm literally meditating. I'm connecting, I'm communing with the divine, my intuition, okay, downloads, inside information, or most importantly, just feeling the joy of pleasure. You see, because we're in physical vessels. We're not just meant to like, meditating with this, okay, that's all good. But we're here to bring heaven to earth. And the body has senses. Let's use those senses. Bring it together with the divine, let it to heart chakra. Let's bring it up, bring it down. Boom, meet in the middle. Right there. So self-pleasure to me is really slowing down. Like maybe you sit up in an environment and you've got a some incense. You got a candle burning. Maybe, I don't have those silk sheets yet, but maybe you got those silk sheets all lined up and you got a nice negligee, or maybe you don't have anything on. I don't know. It's whatever you decide. You're kind of dancing naked in front of the mirror, whatever works for you. And you're just honoring and revering yourself. And you're just like literally not only making love to yourself, but it's making love to God. And okay, that's clear. I'm serious. Making love to you. Okay, with God and the divine in the mix. You see, and that kind of segue right into sex magic. Now, you see, initially, I know like years ago when I heard the phrase sex magic, I'm like, oh my God, that's evil. That's witchcraft. That's trying to control somebody else. That's like those voodoo dolls. That's like chupacabra. I don't know. That's not even related. That was, what is that? Santeria. I was like, oh, no, 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 no. Just like potions and mixes, and that's evil. And that exists. I'm going to tell you right now. Every single ritual practice, every sector of society has both a divine aspect to it and has an inverted aspect to it. So it's all about the intention. Okay, so when I practice sex magic, I invoke a state, not a thing, not a person. I invoke a state or a feeling of joy, clarity, focus. Number two, I always invoke the presence of God or the presence of the divine. Third, and this is the most important, I intend, because remember, intention is everything. I intend that this ritual, this practice is for the mutual benefit of all sentient beings. You see, that's a lot. That's bringing in the whole collective. It's not about control. It's about expansion. It's about creation, constructive in nature. Okay. So I have a masterclass, free masterclass coming up next week, starting on June the 9th. Every single day, 11:33 a.m. Pacific Coast Time, US of A. If you're on the East Coast, that's going to be 8:33. You want to ask me why it's 11:33, 8:33? You can ask me on during the class. Okay, it's going to be every single day for an hour, all next week, free. Okay, and I'm going to guide you into opening up to deeper connection by helping you to heal sexual betrayal. And you're like, just wait a minute, she didn't even talk about sexual betrayal. Okay, sexual betrayal is an echo of sexual trauma. So I'm getting to the root cause. Now, yes, we are going to talk about sexual betrayal. We're going to talk about sexual betrayal as it relates to infidelity, as it relates to you, in a sense, betraying yourself without necessarily being aware of it. We're going to talk about the ultimate betrayal, which is feeling as though you have been betrayed by the divine. Seriously, that's how it was for me. I'm going to talk about the biology behind the infidelity and the trauma that your partner likely experienced and why it showed up in the way that it did and why you came into and had that experience. Because what that's going to do is allow you to, first of all, better understand how sexual betrayal came about, and then to build your compassionate muscle. Okay, because it also comes to cultural beliefs, family beliefs, all kinds of belief systems around why sexual betrayal, infidelity, and cheating shows up. Okay. And I know I've interacted with people who are, for example, from Haiti. It's just a given. People from the Dominican Republic, people from Latin America, especially when you're looking at those really hot, sensual zones. I'm talking about Venezuela, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Haiti. It's just a given from my experience and interaction with others that men in particular are just going to cheat. They've got their perfect model trophy wife, and they got the quote unquote whore on the side. Okay, because they don't believe that they can have both. You can have both. Why not? That's again programming. That's a stigma. Okay. I'm just saying, let's erase that, delete it, clear, transmute it across all space, time, dimensions, and realities. Done, done, done. Boop, transmuted, because there's a power to do that, power of our words. Okay, so we will talk about that. I'm also going to help you to reconnect to your body using somatic techniques, time-tested techniques to allow for sustainable, long-lasting change. I'm there to witness you, support you, use the wisdom that I've gained from my own experience. So not only are you going to open up to a deeper connection to yourself, a greater self-love, greater self-acceptance, you are going to feel more confident in interacting with others, more sensual, more sexy, and you're going to be able to be ready or begin to be ready to receive what I call divine love. Because if you're here now, you're not settling. You've already done a ton of work and you're ready to continue to do what it takes to be open, to receive, and to give divine love. We're talking about 5D. We're not talking about lust. We're not talking about lower chakras without bringing those upper chakras in. We're meeting right in the middle, heaven on earth. That's what I'm about. And if you're here, like I said, I know that's what you're about. And so if you would like to be part of that and to take advantage of that, highly suggest that you grab that link in the comments right now and register. Invite anybody who you feel may benefit from this. And as well, I'd like to share that I am offering for anyone who registers through next Friday the 13th, lucky Friday the 13th, all about intention and perspective and expectation. A free, not a free, okay, special offer, one-on-one customized coaching session for 30 minutes at a 50% savings. Now that's huge, but it's $55 US dollars. You're going to get me one-on-one within the residence of my healed light codes and my healed sexual trauma and my reclaimed sacred sexuality to get some on-the-spot streamlined support where I actually give you some viable action steps to accelerate your healing and transformation, especially in the area where you are reclaiming your sacred sexuality. There it is. Grab that link right now. I'm also going to drop a link into that special VIP exclusive offer. Like I said, upon registering, that offer is available to you, and it's good through next Friday, the lucky 13th. Love you so much. Here's to our sacred sexuality and reclaiming it in its fullest expression. Much love. Peace.